Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for another segment of AppSec Decoded. My name is Laurie Carr, the blog managing editor, and I am here today with
Tim Mackey. I'm Principal Security Strategist at the Synopsys Cybersecurity Research Center.
So Synopsys released the 6th edition of the Open Source Security Risk Analysis Report, which uncovers some key findings about the state of open source security. What were some of the major trends from this year?
So every year we've seen an ever-increasing number of code bases that we analyze, and one of the important things to look at with the OSSRA data, as opposed to any other report that is out there, is that the OSSRA report is specifically related to auditing the development practices of commercial applications. So this isn't a survey. This isn't something where opinion is going to kind of play into the data that's coming out of it. The applications this past year, they were across the board. As in years past, we had an additional roughly 300 applications that we looked at. And these aren't applications that end up being chosen by us. They're part of some form of merger and acquisition that's occurring out in the industry. So this is software that people are paying money for. This is tech that people are paying money for. I put that all as preamble because when we start to look at the applications, the trends that we are able to derive are specific to the industry at large, as opposed to a specific development team's approach to things. So a couple of things jumped out at us this year. One of the first being the growth in the number of components within a given code base. This year it was in excess of 500. That's a lot of components to actually manage directly. But things get a little bit more interesting when you peel back the onion just a little bit and see where those components are used. And predominantly, the applications themselves are JavaScript or Node.js based applications, which means that the quantity of code that's coming in from all of these dependencies may not be directly declared by the developer. So they might be blind to what's happening in those hundreds of dependencies. So that's item number one, the growth factor. Item number two surrounds the actual vulnerabilities themselves. This year, we saw actually a few CVEs grow in prevalence year over year. That's not a trend that we've typically seen in the past, but more importantly, that alludes to a lack of governance on the part of some development teams to keep up to date with vulnerabilities. Because effectively, when we see a growth in a CVE, that means that it was already known to be a serious problem last year, and it's a bigger problem this year.